today. I have 3 voting issues that I think show exactly what the resolution is, in fact, very much true. The first voting issue I would have is that it's not currently aggressive. My opponent has talked much about how Pope Francis has called for people to do more. But this is not aggressive. Under his own definition of aggressive action, it's not hostile. It's not confronting. And my opponent dropped all of my analysis as to this point. So since he did not respond to my analysis, I think it stands for my last speech, that the current policy of the Catholic Church is not aggressive, and that the Catholic Church should be much more aggressive on human rights than it currently is. I'd like to just mention under here his talking about my plan. I think that all of these specifics for the plan are entirely irrelevant to this debate round. He had no impact for them. He said, well, it gets rid of my ground. Well, what ground does he lose on this? Where do the specifics actually matter for this round? All of the agent is specified in the resolution. The specifics are common knowledge for how the Catholic Church works. None of it actually impacts how anything works in this debate round, and so should not be a part of how you decide this round on the ballot. Let's move down to my second voting issue, and that is that it solves the problem. Here he had a couple of points talking about how do we know this will actually work? And my first point is looking at the conditions of the camp, that of better conditions. He said, well, how do we know that they're better conditions? Well, there's evidence everywhere. Like, just look at any news article. Like, the conditions in European refugee camps are much better than refugee camps inside of Syria. And the people are dying trying to get to these camps, and they're being turned away by the Europeans. The conditions are much better. And my specifics and analysis of their basic necessity being provided for was not responded to. My second point is that of the solvency itself. He dropped entirely my analysis of Catholic doctrine, that the sacrament is a powerful means of making Catholics get in line with church doctrine, with church policy. And this analysis was dropped itself. I don't need empirical examples. Even if the church had never done this before in history, it would still work because of my analysis of how Catholic doctrine works, which was never responded to in this round. My third response to this is looking at how he said, well, it's the government, it has nothing to do with the Roman Catholic Church. I think he's missing the entire point. Yes, it has to do with the government policy, but the Catholic Church has a lot of influence over governmental policy. By withdrawing communion, they're forcing countries to take action, because this is a very important part of their spiritual life. And if they don't have access to communion, they don't have access to part of the saving grace of their own faith. And that is a critical thing for Catholics. My final voting issue is that of moral responsibility. Moral responsibility. When we look at what actually happens at the end of this round, the negative team, my opponent, is supporting a world where we don't actually do anything. We encourage people to help other people, but we don't actually take an aggressive stance. We don't actually uphold our moral responsibility. And the criterion of moral responsibility, all of my analysis about how we're morally culpable right now for not punishing those who don't help, has gone unaddressed in this round. So under that criterion, the affirmative ballot is warranted, and I would urge you to do so. Thank you.